All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here again. Hello, beautiful galactic goddesses. Yeah, thanks for joining me and for all of us getting together again. So much light on this screen, in this room, in this space. So I thought we'd just spend a couple minutes again, just go around the room for those who haven't seen our last video and share a little bit about yourself. Your name and what your what your perspective here is on this planet now, and combined with the galactic goddess you are, I guess. Okay. Lisa, I see you first. If you don't
Oh,
mind
sure.
sharing first.
Okay. Well, my name's Lisa Knowlton, and I'm in Montana right now, covered in snow, which is actually kind of new. This winter has been extremely dry. Um, and I actually came into meeting all of you here through being in Portland for 2 years while I was going through a divorce. And that was probably, actually, I think I had somebody here in Montana tell me that I had aliens that were helping me sleep at night, and she wanted to know if I was aware of that, and I said not at all. So that was probably in 2011, maybe 2012, and then didn't really have any experiences around it until I left, because I believe that there were some not just hindrances within myself, but in the environment that I was in. So, boy, I went to Oregon and fortunately had a space, and I met Ashley almost right off the bat, who's here with us, Galactic Ashley. And her name called me to her because I did have some. I'm very clairaudient, and that was how some of the words were coming through, and the Pleiadians came through first off. And I had only been hearing a little bit about them from other people, but not a lot, for a few years. So um, they helped me with my heart energy and sort of passed me on to Lyrans, who I worked with for quite a while. They called themselves the Loving Lyrans. Very, very loving in their tides, is the word I'm hearing right now. And right now, I'm actually connecting more with Lemurian. I do energy work. I do heart readings, help people open their heart through the energy work that I do and how I converse with them. Some of it is, I have a foundation in about 27 years now of yoga. So it's very body oriented and helping people, kind of like what you were discussing before we started the video about really helping people stay grounded in their bodies, but understanding the growth and evolution of energy and their energy bodies that's happening. Um, and then I also, I have a future group that goes by the Wolverines, and they also come with Malverines, and they are a combination of the Wolverines and Mavericks, is how I understand it. And the word Wolverine and the word Maverick, those two words mean a lot to me in terms of my personality as kind of a Wolverine. And then the Mavericks, I had to look. I look up a lot of words with my guides, but the Mavericks are, it's someone who has information that's more like driven by something that's going to be happening in the future, with when there's a bunch of other people around you who are saying no, 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 I don't think so. So they work with me on the way that I work with people in their body now. So I really don't. I kind of untied from the yoga philosophy and the yoga tradition with respect, and trying to bring more feminine energy in. So I think I'll end there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, Shauna, I see you next on the screen. Will you go next?
Sure. So I'm Shauna L. Francis, and I am really, at this point, I'm an ascension guide. I'm a channel. I am an author, and really pretty new to the spiritual path with this ascension. About 2.5 years in, but it's been an amazing ride. Really full time, I am focused on channeling messages from the Galactic Federation of Light and some other highly evolved beings. I have a YouTube channel that has 2,000 subscribers now after 6-7 months, and it's just absolutely amazing what's going on. And for 100 days straight, I channeled the Galactic Federation of Light, and the people started coming. And so truly, dedicating my world to the ascension and helping people move through this process and understand what this means. And I'm also working pretty hard on disclosure plans for extraterrestrial visitation disclosure, the whole awakening around the fact that we are all galactic beings and one small part of a much larger picture here, a much bigger puzzle of galactic species and that kind of thing. So yeah, so great to be here talking everything galactic.
Nice. Thanks, Shauna.
Yeah.
Okay, and congratulations. Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kendra, I see you next. Do you mind introducing yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Kendra Jonas. I channel a fifth dimensional being named Melody. She connects to the fifth dimensional oversoul group, which is where all of our higher selves connect to. So when I channel her, she's able to tap into whoever I'm channeling for, their higher self, and maybe what their mission is, or she just dives a lot deeper than what we can see from the 3D perspective. I'm an author of the book called The Link, which is basically, it's tied into the 7 principles of I Am, which links to our 7 chakras. And when we awaken those, or when those become activated by our awareness of our higher dimensional versions of ourself, which also stems to the galactic versions of ourself, because most all of us have had lives on higher dimensional planets, and then we decided to incarnate here in a more dense planet, a 3rd dimensional planet, to come during this time of ascension. So we're here not just to witness this and to go through these times, but also to anchor in light and higher dimensional frequencies. And so a lot of us are starting to come into our mission more now, myself included. We look back on our lives and why we had certain jobs that we did, or we were in certain relationships, and the dots are starting to connect now for people more than ever. I'm seeing this a lot for the people I channel for. Plus in my own life, I'm being led down this path of financial information and abundance, ways of achieving abundance like we've never experienced before, because the old matrix of the financial institutions with the big banks is failing right before our eyes. And it is the most exciting time I've ever seen. And I'm really excited about what's coming. The ability for people to collectively take stake in their own financial power and ability through other means. I mean, I'm seeing all of this through cryptocurrencies and what's happening there. So these are really exciting times to really see the old ways falling away, but seeing the replacements that are there right now, and how they're empowering people. So I'm just getting more and more excited by the day, even though things seem so, like confusing sometimes, or like people don't know what direction we're going, and like the political thing seems so awful, but what's unfolding, if we dig deeper and start connecting to our guides, our galactic guides, start opening up our channels, and start looking at what's really happening, and how the collective people are coming together. It's like you could see 5D is really here. It's coming, and more people are linking to it. So I'm really been more excited this past week than I've felt for a while.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendra. That's exciting. It is exciting. Very exciting times. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at what Bitcoin's doing. Okay. That's proof right there.
Yeah. I know. I'm glad I held on to it.
Yes, indeed.
Galactic Ashley.
Hello. I am Galactic Ashley, and I channel divine guidance for star seeds, connecting them to their star families and galactic lineages. And I use light language frequencies and work with your cosmic connections to facilitate high frequency healing transmissions and encoded activations. I'm super excited to be here. Hopefully you will post this soon because today is a new moon. It's also a new lunar new year too. So it seems like there's been a lot of energies that are coming in, and similar to what Kendra was saying, there's just a lot happening. I've been experiencing a lot, especially a lot of physical stuff in the body, which makes sense because a lot of what I do is work with light language and to help people activate, because we're really here to support the new human structural alignment in accordance with our consciousness expansion. And so in order for that to happen, things kind of need to fall apart at their base level. A lot of messages with foundation have been coming through, which is awesome because I also facilitate galactic guided intensives, 4 of them each year. And the next one that's coming up, they're each 10-week programs, is the Light Language Activation and Healing Program. And it's just hugely beneficial, and you can feel basically empowered to use what is already innate and embedded within you so that you can help yourself through these processes. And then, of course, if you're a practitioner, you can use it in a way that you feel guided to use in your own practice. And then recently, actually a few weeks ago, I just launched a whole new program. Crystal Skulls came into my life, and so I now have the Crystal Skull Council. I'm looking for people to interview on the first round of podcasts for anybody that works with crystal skulls. And again, they came online, and it's not separate from Galactic Ashley. It's just another faction of it. And the Crystal Skulls, the ones that I work with that are part of the council, they are galactic beings that are in crystalline form, because we are serious when we talk about the new human and the importance of birthing it through our divine human DNA. So, and it's another way to channel. And for me, channeling is a journey of intimacy in a way in which I'm able to express a spiritual devotion in this plane that we're currently experiencing together.
Yes.
So
Wow.
that I will hand the baton back.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. That's amazing stuff for sure. All of us here. So for those of you out there that are watching that don't know who I am Sharon Sananda Kumara. That is my name here. And I am a practitioner. I am a psychic medium, a channel, teacher, presenter. You know, I'm into all this stuff, and I do help people remove blocks and connect to the highest part of themselves, and also be able to remember who they are, who we are, we're our true self, and whether we are star seeds or not, which I don't know. I'm kind of feeling that maybe most people on the planet are star seeds. Would you ladies agree? People are star seeds. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of us here now to help this planet. This planet needs a lot of help. Yeah. And so anyway, so that's what I do, and a little bit about what I do. And I get people amazing people like this together so we can chat and talk. Okay. So I thought maybe we'd start the conversation off a little with talking about our galactic heritage, and maybe what you've learned about who you are because everyone here is a starseed. We're connecting to our galactic heritage, right? And we're all channels here. Is it maybe if you could share what you know about your ancestry or your heritage, and what brought you to that place of being aware that you are a galactic being and decided to come back to the planet to help in these pivotal times. Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first, I guess.
Sure.
I started to have like breakthrough memories of past lives. Let's see, probably starting about 20 years back. At first I had memories of earthly past lives, and I was going back five lifetimes here that I know I've had on the planet Earth. But before that, I started to have breakthrough memories of being on the planet Sirius. And I believe there's 2 planets that they sort of they were near each other that they transported back and forth to, sort of like you go back and forth to countries, you know, here it was kind of like that. And I have memories of how the interconnectedness of how it was very native as far as like the interconnectedness of nature and the trees, like to build a home, trees were never cut down on that planet. These trees were huge, huge. They were allowed to grow and become like, you know, like the redwoods in California. They were huge like that, only even bigger. And you would sort of build your home out of the way that they sort of arched, or the tree branches went around. So there was these intricate designs where architecture and trees were harmonized. And it's the most, you can't hardly describe what that's like, but you know, there was some tunneling, there was some bending of the limbs and things like that. And so shelter was these large canopies and things. So
It
you're
reminds me of Avatar.
Oh, really? I haven't
The
seen
movie.
that movie, but
Oh, I bet you if you watch it, you'll really resonate with those beings.
oh, I'll
Yeah.
have to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely have to watch it. Yeah. I'm
Mm.
sorry I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, so we were chased out of that planet because of the Orion War, the reptilians that were part of the Orion constellation came, and they had higher technologies than we did. And they wanted to take over that planet. So we left and then came to the Earth planet. And a lot of Syrians incarnated and came here. There's quite a large population. I don't know in ratio, but I think the Pleiadians and the Syrians are one of the majority of star seeds that are here now. But our DNA has been altered by ET interference, you know, going back since the beginning of our time. If we watch, you know, Ancient Aliens and things like that, we can learn about our true history. So we all have DNA from all different star systems, but a lot of us have stronger DNA connections to certain planets. So for me, mine is a reincarnational memory there. And so when we came here, we came here sort of with this idea of, you know, being in harmony, being in unity with the earth. A lot of the Syrians incarnated as Native American people, and they still carried those same ideologies. They came here with that very spiritual connection to the earth and the planetary bodies. So when the colonizers came, you know, it just felt like that whole thing all over again. Oh, you know, and it probably is, you know, the Orions come in different forms. And so, you know, they come and they want to conquest not just property and space and create all that stuff, but it's really a spiritual war that's been going on for a long time. So yeah, so I just remember those times, and then it really helps, you know, when we have the memories to really understand, you know, what our purpose is here, what we really came here for, and not to get stuck in the everyday stuff of distractions and, you know, what are we really here for? And then it helps us reconnect again and then kind of get back to where we need to be. So
Yeah. Thanks, Kendra. Yeah.
does
Anybody
anybody
else want to
have
share?
memories of beautiful trees on these other planets, or is it just me?
When I saw Avatar, I really resonated, and I actually cried like a baby when it first started.
Wow.
When it started, yeah, I mean, just and the way when she rides that dragon being, or I was like, oh my, I mean, the memories were just, yeah, it was, yeah, nodding their head. The
Wow.
memories just came bubbling to the surface. I remember doing that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I bet you if you watch it, it'll trigger some more memories for you, because it
Wow.
felt very, very familiar.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for sharing that validation.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I'd just say real quick, I mean, from my perspective, my understanding from my guides is that I am seraphim, so and like in training. But I've also been told that I kind of have like a long and storied past with reptilians as well. And I had a dear psychic friend who I feel is really talented tell me that I was a high ranking reptilian at one point, and I defected and became a traitor and kind of went to the light side from the dark side. And my Archangel Metatron, who's one of my main guides, has told me that one of my main missions is to work with negative reptilian energy on the planet. So Kendra talked about reptilians here on this planet. And when I first heard that 2.5 years ago, I was just, I mean, I couldn't believe it. So, so those are kind of some vague, kind of not so much memories for me, but that, you know, there's something there in terms of seraphim working with reptilian energy right now, and some kind of reptilian in my past lives or multidimensional lives in some fashion.
So do you see the seraphim as the angelic, then the angelic realm?
Yeah, I do. And do you have a different idea of that?
No, that's how I understand it too.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Is as far as reptilians, it's been my understanding and in my experience that there are also positive reptilians. I remember actually having a reptilian lifetime as a I would say, I'm not going to say good or bad, but just, you know, a reptilian that only wanted to live his life on a planet, and it was a red planet. And what happened was that planet was destroyed. The surface of it was destroyed because of, and my memory tells me that it was the negative reptilians that came to destroy it. And we went underground. And I remember just feeling so grief stricken for that planet. But I saw my body. It was during a meditation, and I saw a deep what I look like, and I was reptilian. Yeah. So
there's definitely positive reptilians, definitely positive. And I mean, my twin flame, he's not an embodiment right now, but he was a positive reptilian here to kind of help me with that mission. So yeah.
Right.
How fun is that?
Well, at least you got that, right? Yeah. What else want to share, Lisa or Ashley?
I can go ahead. So I feel like my personal galactic lineage is not different as in better, but I identify as being from another universe. So when I connect with my galactic family, they're from another universe. I was brought here through what I call the dragon gates. And so I channel a dragon consciousness that's basically always present anytime I channel or work with people. And I was sort of delivered to the Arcturians, and then basically have done for numerous lifetimes what I call like a Peace Corps service, but a galactic version of it. And so I have memories of lifetimes that feel very like short. And I've basically been given permission from the races and or the planet to be able to incarnate and disincarnate, and I always go back with the Arcturians. So even my death or transition memories are very different. So I don't have a lot of information about Galactic Wars per se, and I've always wondered about that. And it's just that my focus has been so much on codes and getting codes. So I have memories of these beings giving me like these codes and information that are like just enveloped in like the sort of like parts of the history of their race, but it's like enveloped in this love. And so it's always like emotional when I go back, because it's like, you know, who am I out there or at a soul level to be able to receive this information, and then to work on this council, like a larger council with numerous star nations that actually created Atlantis. So I'm not saying I created Atlantis, but what came through a while ago, which was like hugely emotional, and I realized why I wasn't letting myself sort of maybe mourn. I felt like not that like, oh, I destroyed Atlantis, but it was more like I failed Mother Earth. So I had a lot of healing, like I failed Mother Earth, so I have no right to miss home. So I never really even gave myself permission to miss home, even though I know that home is meant to be brought through the body, and I was fine with that, but I wouldn't even give myself like permission to do that, because how should I deserve that when Mother Earth has like done all of these things for us and has created our body, and I'm here with a purpose, like super clear on all of that. So that was really healing for me, and it allowed another layer to come through, because Atlantis was really this program that was meant to create like this energy field on Earth that was supposed to bring the matriarchy and the patriarchy like together, and that didn't happen. And so my memories of Atlantis are more about me going and salvaging codes and taking them back to like a place where they were kept, the ones that were okay. So I don't like have memories of being in or living in Atlantis, but being a part of a system of beings that created Atlantis as this energy point meant for and with Mother Earth. And so my like versions of history are like, I don't know, different. And so that is a perspective that I have, but it's all very fascinating, because you can just the micro to the macro of everything. So I find that when we have these memories, they're hugely beneficial, especially when we're in this human form, because it's so important to remember that we're in a universe that is created and based on polarities. Like, it's how it's designed, right? So a polarity is part of this creation, right? But we get stuck in the problems of polarities because we believe that out there is better than down here, or one pole is better than the other, when we're really meant to like embody both of these like polarities in like this one field within ourselves, which is a lot, because to experience like deep, profound love, but also a mourning and a loss at the exact same time, and to be able to hold this power of neutrality is like, it's like mind-boggling in this body, but also hugely powerful and just an incredible feeling to remember. Or I was given a moment of being able to feel what it meant to feel total neutrality, and it was like the most powerful I have ever felt, and amazing. And I was like, I want that, because to be able to have that in the human body would just, it doesn't kill the ego, it doesn't do anything, but it's like literally everything at once. And it wasn't like it was very much like in the body, in the mind. I was like, what does it mean to have like a neutral ego, to hold this power? And like, to me, that is the power, because it's not over anything or doesn't have anything to do with anything. It like is just is, and we have that potential in our bodies in this lifetime. And I just want to like not like get it like I'm chasing it, but that's possible. And like I felt it for a few minutes, and I was just like, this but it's still human, still here, but it just like everything just shifts and changes. And so I think when we remember that our history is in the infinite now, and that what we're doing now or what we're remembering is affecting our future and our past and all of it, then in many ways, when we're having these remembrances and when we're going through these time spirals that we're in, we have so much power. But I think that the challenge right now is that we have to do it at a collective level, and the collective level is what's really been triggered, like for humans.
Right.
So
yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Ashley. Lisa?
Yeah. I feel like I have a lot to say. I took notes while you guys were all talking so that I can try to remember some of the things, because you guys touched on things that just made me think of my own process. And the first thing is just, really coming to terms with the truth of being this star being and being part of a galactic collective that is really taking me a long time to adjust to. And I think I mentioned it in the last one in terms of feeling afraid. And I don't feel like I feel as afraid in the same quality maybe as last time we talked, but because it's a level of worthiness, like Ashley mentioned this too, like it's not necessarily better than out there, but this life that I've lived in this particular life that I can remember as Lisa, there was a lot of like squelching and squashing and hiding and abuse and verbal abuse and all kinds of things that like as soon as I feel like I'm getting up to a point where I feel the value and the worth of being as, I'm hearing, qualified to speak about this in this group and with you all in a way. I feel it on my own. I talk to my guides all the time and they're always there for me. But it's like the polarity part really, really struck me, because in the yoga community, that was sort of what you were supposed to be achieving. Enlightenment is a word that you can connect to being a yogi as well. But as I developed more as a person in this yoga community, and using my body and meditating and things like that, the more that I got to see that. And in fact, there's one guided meditation that I remember experiencing that same thing, because it was a practice of feeling an emotion that didn't feel so good and then feeling the opposite of that. And eventually you just kept touching on those things to see that right in the middle, you were still there at all times. It was almost like, just kind of depends on which way you get pulled. And I'm going through that all the time, because in fact, my guides, it's just kind of what flies out of my mouth, because I've been calling them that since I started all of this. But they reinforce that all the time. It's like they'll kind of feed me something, and I'm like, nom, 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 nom. And then the next day or within a few minutes, they'll like feed me something else, and I'm like, oh, wait, you just said this last time. So as far as my heritage goes, I really don't have a lot of the past life memories yet. But when I was working with the Lyrans, they worked with me probably the longest and with the most rigor and intensity, because I think I was there. Like I have the memory, and I've been doing intuitive drawing, and I drew what I perceived as a being that I was, that had been not necessarily, I'm hearing the word massacred, but it was like this being whose head was in its hands, and it was on its knees, and it had blood coming from the back of its neck, and it had these wings that had, and it was just this really amazing image for me to connect with, because I actually hold a lot of that pain still in my neck. And that's some of what I've been working through as a yoga practitioner for so many years, and a gymnast when I was a child, and just being in this physical and human body. So there is this, like, with the ascension and with what I do and the way that I've been guided, it's allowing the energy of the star seed in me to be fully, like, broken through. So you guys talked about relating to that movie. I'm forgetting right off the tip of my tongue right now, but
Avatar.
And I did too, for sure, like with being connected to the earth and everything. But the movie that struck me the most, where I was in tears, was The Matrix, because at the very end, and I think I said this last time too, but he comes through at the end with a light that just bursts through his physical body. And I feel like that's what I've been experiencing. I feel like through my physical practice in the yoga community, I was like slowly peeling away, like one layer at a time, so that light could come through. And then I met Ashley and got a divorce, and like all these things happened, and it was like it just started turning on. And so now it's sort of like running through my veins and in all of my cells. And so my memories are not as poignant, but my experience of knowing and understanding everything you guys are talking about it's like, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I don't question it. I can relate in some way. But I wanted to mention that when I was in my 20s, I was in college, and I had a moment by myself in this classroom when there were still chalkboards, and I wasn't wearing glasses when I should have been, and I saw what I would say now is as like a portal or some kind of a vision on that chalkboard of a head. And I drew it, and I have it tattooed on my back. But probably a year ago, when I started drawing intuitively again, this image came through again. And so as far as how far back I've been, I was contacted, I guess. This is another just intuitive image. So these are the beings that I connect with, and very often it's this beautifully shaped and head, and this is what they're all about. They're all about the love. I mean, this is a really fast marker drawing that, I mean, the only reason I like it is because that being is in there and they're constantly coming through my arms. So the memories might not be coming to me in visions, but they're coming to me through the artwork that I do quite often, especially as I learn how to untie the traumas from whatever lifetimes there have been that have been holding me captive. So it's I'm not even sure intuitive is the right way to say how I'm drawing now. It's more like it's full on absolute no thought is happening in my head. I just let my arm do whatever it's going to do. And it's really kind of fascinating because usually it's this weird line, and then I open my eyes and I look at it and I'll turn the page and all of a sudden an image will start to show up, and that's how I fill it in. So I think that's about it, other than just, connecting with everything that everybody has said in terms of being here now and really wanting to help other people understand how we exist on this planet, and with all the earthly necessities that, and being able to connect all of it, connect the fact that we as people can feel like a tree.
Yeah.
And I want to help people understand that, because for me it's really helped me understand how to be kinder, not just to myself but other people and the world around me. So
Nice. Thank you, Lisa. By the way, I love my drawing. Lisa created a drawing for me.
Thank you.
And the message, I love it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Sure, of course. So I'll just share a little bit about my memories, and well, a little bit because I have a lot. We all have a lot, right? Um, it started about 20 years ago when I remembered, as far as galactic, I'll interrupt myself here, but as far as the galactic part of us, I believe in my estimation that might mean just that we have this galactic view. We get to this point where we have this galactic view of who we are and what's going on, right? And what we remember, that, and what our role is, perhaps, in not just on Earth but throughout the galaxy. That's what I interpret galactic, our galactic self, when we have these galactic awarenesses to be. Hopefully that makes some sense, that it's not just worldly but it's galactic. And then when we get to that point where we're connecting with our guides, our higher self, and our higher parts of ourself, then we have this galactic view, and we're connecting to these beings that we have been working with, what I understand, for a very, 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 very long time, thousands, if not millions of years. And they are part of our heritage. They are part of who we are. And we've dropped down in this little tiny, or I should say, kind of a tiny spark of who we really are here on this planet, to help this planet and come back here. I have clear memory of sitting with my Galactic Council, and they having a conversation where they were telling me that I came back with a lot of people from Atlantis, and to right the wrongs. And I was in that place. This was 20 years ago, so I wasn't, nearly as aware as I am now. I said, "Oh, well, what happened in Atlantis?" They're like, they look at each other and just kind of, they said, well, let's just say it wasn't good. so what they let me know is I have come back with a large group of people who are here to right some wrongs and get, move us up the spectrum of frequency. And and I resonate most with the Pleiadians. Kendra, you were saying Syrians. I do remember a lifetime with an existence, I should say, because it's all happening at the same time. Existence on a Syrian planet uh, with a huge, beautiful Syrian male named Kalrek. Yeah, and whoo, man, I just remember waking up one morning. He's standing in my doorway, and he's just, I mean, he's like an Adonis, right? He's got these crystal blue, shining blue eyes, and I knew exactly who he was, and so I have memory of being with him in as a Syrian being, and actually a lifetime in Atlantis. But I can relate to Kendra. What you're talking about is not chopping down trees and stuff like that. I remember lifetimes in the Pleiadian system of where if we were going to have children, we had to petition a council. We had to petition, elders in order to have a child, and it was that child was treated with, and I get emotional talking about it, with so much reverence and respect that you had to actually have permission to have a child, and raising that child was a community thing within your community. And so it was a big honor to be able to bring another life form in the community. And so that was a huge deal, very different than here. Yeah, so things like that I have memories of. As far as the Galactic Wars, I do remember being a soldier in the Galactic Wars, and I remember being a female soldier, and my understanding is that, I think Kendra, you mentioned that something happened where we blew up a planet in this galaxy, or destroyed a planet completely, and we created a rift in the matrix, and the galactic matrix, and that enabled the native Orion beings to be able to come in and wreak havoc on this part of the galaxy. And they found Earth, and they have been pretty much enslaving the human race ever since, and to where we don't, haven't had that connection with who we really are. And so, as and I also understand that the good guys agreed to part of that, so that we would have um, a journey to find ourselves. You know what I mean? To be able to find that part of us. But it's taken a lot longer than what was initially anticipated. So that's why a lot of people are going through, and are going through some really tough times, because it's like kind of like now or never with moving into the 5D, yeah, existence. Okay, so that's a little bit of synopsis, a little bit of what I remember. Tons of memories, but I thought we'd talk about the Galactic Federation a little bit. Maybe a lot of people don't know who the Galactic Federation is, and what they're all about. And Shauna, since you work so closely with them now, do you mind sharing a little bit about them
Sure.
and your relationship?
Yeah. With the Galactic Federation of Light, I started speaking to these guys earlier last year. I think it was May or so. Before then, I was working with the Pleiadian actually on a daily basis, and she was helping me with my kind of awakening process and learning more about, Galactic Wars, reptilian influence, what it means to be a starseed and a light bringer. And I was working on my book and everything. But, here one day, she introduced me to a Lyran by the name of Romaden from the Galactic Federation of Light. And and I talked to Ashtar, I think once around that same time. So they just started coming through. And before then I didn't know much about the GFL, the Galactic Federation of Light. I know there's many galactic councils out there. This one in particular, how they've articulated it to me is that they seriously are working for the light, and they're troubleshooters for all kinds of planets and places and systems and that kind of thing. And they come in where there's real support needed to fight the dark. So it's almost like a Star Wars situation. You've got the light versus the dark. They are the Federation of Light. They are coming in where we are, humanity is in a great need right now to, like you're talking about, Sharon, it's taken a long time to get to this point where we are awakening, right? To our missions and to our lineage and to why we are here as light workers. So they're coming in. And here they are providing all this love, support, energetic frequencies. They are they're roughly around the 6 density. So we're going up to 5D. They're mostly around 6 already, made of many, many species of light, and they've been around forever, been around a long time. But my understanding is that they've got a fleet of ships surrounding this planet, kind of in our solar system, kind of on the ready, and have been, I'm going to say around the 80s or 90s. You might know a little more, Sharon, than that. But, you know, they've been around a while, kind of waiting for finally what's happening now today, waiting for the right timing for this. And at least with the Galactic Federation of Light and what I understand and the channeling I'm doing with this group, and there's a collective that come through. I've channeled, I think I've done it 100 times in the last 6 months or so, put out these videos on YouTube. But it's awakening is a big part of this ascension, right? And they're helping us understand who and what we are as infinite souls of light here on a temporary basis in this body. Yeah, so talk about our lineages, Palladian, Syrian, Lyran, you know, reptilian or angelic or whatever that is. But we've come here in these bodies probably against the will of our families who said, don't go there, you're going to hate it, it's terrible. But we did it anyway. You know, we came here and, you know, to help with this ascension that's happening right now. So the GFL very much here in a loving, supporting role to help us. Oh, we lost Sharon. To help us get to that next level and to be ready for kind of the next phase of humanity's evolution and Mother Earth's evolution to this 5th dimensional idea. So that's how I understand the GFL. Just absolute love, pure absolute love coming in and really helping a lot of us in very personal ways. So I don't know if anybody else has any other experience while we wait for Sharon to get on with the GFL, any other ideas about these guys.
Your explanation's incredible. I love the detail and everything that you've really tapped into them. What was I going to say about them? Yeah, you were talking about how they're here to fight, you know, the darkness, and and Melody, my guide, has also indicated that as well. And there's this law, universal law, where our rights cannot be violated without an equal pushback. So like if the negative agenda has pushed us so far, we can look at chemtrails, for example. And I learned a lot about this just by witnessing it and making orgonite to try to counteract the chemtrails. It used to really bother me so much. And so they would, you know, mess up the skies, and then it would get really bad for about 3 days. And then all of a sudden it would stop. Everything would be beautiful blue skies, and they wouldn't be able to lay any more chemtrails out. And what was going on was the Galactic Federation of Light, those beings have technology out there in the atmosphere, above the atmosphere, where it's like a vacuum system, and they're literally cleaning up that stuff that happens. And every time, you know, they make it a mess, then they come and they clean it up. So I was seeing this 3-day cycles, 3 days of absolute yuck, and then 3 days of perfectly blue sky. And she was telling me, this is what's going on. This is why they can only push so far against our free will and do these violations without an equal pushback on the other side. And but they can't stop it because they would interfere with free will. These are highly evolved beings that allow for free will, so they can only, you know, kind of clean up or do whatever is a counter that's of equal value. It's like this mathematical equation that's going on back and forth. But at least that gave me so much comfort to know that everything will always be neutralized. Everything will be neutral. As Galactic Ashley, you were kind of talking about the neutral zone. We can see that neutrality playing out in the good and evil wars that are going on, just because of how the Galactic Federation of Light operates and honors the free will, but yet they will not let them destroy us or win, so to speak. So these reptilian types, not all reptilians are bad, but the types that are behind this, they really don't get it. They really think that if they just try harder, they're going to be 5 steps ahead or whatever. And it's never going to happen that way. There is always going to be the equal pushback in the other direction from the Galactic Federation of Light that will counter that. So is that what you also discovered, Shauna, in your channelings with them?
Absolutely. I mean, the free will, they talk about free will all the time, and they talk about us being absolutely sovereign and free, and we're not victims. But what they said is we're trying to tip the scales. So the pendulum has swung so far over to the side of the kind of the evil, the dark, the negative reptilian, this kind of thing, that they're going to tip it back this way. And then eventually we're going to find an equilibrium where there's a natural balance between the polarity.
So sorry. How do I stop this?
That's a confirmation.
Oh, no. How do I turn
Mercury's been working overtime this round. Let me tell you.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
But the beings fully support what Shauna is saying.
That's what it sounded like to me. Yeah. That was an exclamation point. Okay.
Anyway, welcome back, Sharon.
Oh, thank you. Here, I thought you were cutting out and it was me. Okay.
Yeah. It was you.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to move into another room and then it came back on. So hopefully it'll stay. I'm glad it didn't stop the whole thing.
Nope.
Yeah.
Roll in here, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, I like what I guess it was, well, I didn't hear everything, but I'm sure it was amazing. But what you were saying, Kendra, about what was it? I had it a second ago. I'll write it down. Forget about it. You're talking about being neutral. Oh, free will and things like that. Yeah, yeah, I also understand that. There's, they're not here to save us, right? We're here to save ourselves, but they can guide us as long as we ask for help. But we still have to do our own work. That's the way I see it. That they're not our saviors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a rescue mission. They've said that
right.
many times.
Yeah. Unless, like you said, Shauna and Kendra, unless it gets so bad that we, on the verge of blowing ourselves up, kind of thing. Then
nuclear bombs. Yeah, I mean, they I don't know if it's the GFL who have dismantled the nuclear bombs or whatever, but I fully believe, and when I hear these things or read about those, they're not going to let us detonate any more bombs, especially on the scale that we have now, because it's going to ripple through timelines and
right.
dimensions and that kind of thing. So yeah. So right. Free will is super important, but to a point.
Yeah, totally. Has anyone felt really strong vibrations lately? I've had a couple of nights where I was vibrating so strong, shaking so hard, and basically everything came out of me, to put it bluntly. And you two actually, and I was just feeling this. I mean, for 2 nights, it was like almost a week apart in the middle, it started kind of early in the evening and went on through the night. It was crazy.
Yeah, my understanding of that's happening is whether it's like cosmic waves, solar flares, however you want to, or coronal mass ejections, however you want to label them. Because I'll feel them. Sometimes I'll just be, feel like I'm on like a boat, and so I usually just thank the universe for my sensitivities, right?
Yeah.
But what my understanding is that in a way, these peak moments of when these are happening, like that is almost I'll just say the future vibration, but our bodies are learning to attune to those energies. Otherwise, we would just be fried. I mean, our whole system would just fry, because you can't really hold that for a long time. So a lot of what I've been doing, and actually a download that I got maybe in October, is to activate, and this is one way, right? Like, I'm not saying that this is the only way for new earth and to activate the new human, but the download that I got is and what I've been doing, and it's a 3-part activation, and it activates the sternum, and I was told that the sternum is our master crystal within our physical body, which the fact that it's houses the heart and everything, like really makes sense. So there's this 3-part activation, and they were very specific about, I've already gone through all 3 parts, but they were very specific about when I deliver it. So we've already done 2 parts, and it's on my website in the transmission section. And there will be a 3rd part. They wanted them to be 3 months apart. You don't have to do them in order, because I would never do anything that had to be done in order, but to do one at a time and just let your guidance sort of tell you. But the whole point of it is that when you work with crystals, and we remember that we're crystalline beings and that the earth is a crystalline consciousness, that tuning into that, tapping into that, and working with our skeletal system and our bone structure, and then knowing that this is our master crystal, so you can work with crystals in layers of activations, just like you work with the crystal in your hand, right? So it's not an accident that there's all these crystals out there that we connect with, that we have memories with. And then I'm always saying that we are the technology that we've been waiting for. So it's literally inside of us. And the Crystal Skull Council, they've come online for me, with me, like, you have a crystal skull, like your skull is crystalline. That is why we are in this form. And it's so much a part of like going through this. So when I feel these waves, it's like, okay, those are opportunities to sort of allow activations and to sort of feel like new earth frequencies. Like that's not necessarily how it will feel, but those are parts of the vibrations that are sort of getting pumped into earth herself, because really I believe that we're on her ascension process. And the reason why it's taking so long is because she loves her children, and otherwise we'd all just fry into a million pieces, and we wouldn't, because she would just ascend, because in a way she's already ascended, right? So absolutely, there's a lot happening, and I feel like the more polarizing that the world stage becomes, the more those frequencies also have to come in. And this goes back to what Kendra and Shauna, and I always call the Galactic Federation of Light the Guffle. the Guffle we're saying about how you have to have, like, in order to keep the balance, you have to have equal and opposite force. And that includes, because I've asked this question, like, you know, the empath part is like, well, I don't want to be mean. And they were like, look, you can like not necessarily defend yourself, but you can meet someone or another entity or something that you're experiencing with equal and opposite force. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong doing that. And that sort of keeps things in balance. So this all kind of comes back around to balance. And so when we as a human collective are sort of experiencing what needs to happen is to sort of recreate our foundation. I know a lot of people are looking at the world stage and they're focused on especially in the United States with the presidential election, and the beings come through and they have really been prioritizing the importance of asking questions over seeking answers. And because they can respond to our consciousness, the importance of asking questions is, yes, because they're honoring sovereignty, but the level of our consciousness is dependent, like, on the question that we're asking. So the more conscious we are, the more developed or the more wondering of our questions, the more information that we can draw in and bring in. So that's another reason for asking questions. So it's not so much about why is this person president or that person not president, but more of why do we have bullies in the White House, and what else is going on behind the scenes, and how can we raise children to be leaders? So there's there's so many layers to everything that's happening. What happens is we get focused on the black and white and the fighting, rather than keeping on asking questions like, why is this happening? Where does this come from? And then to continue asking questions and to hold space for a discussion. And so, and everything is just rattling the quote unquote lower chakras of our system, because that's the foundation that needs to be kind of redesigned. And we all play a role in that, and not one role is more important than the others. The student, the teacher, the education system, Kendra had mentioned the financial system, like these are all systems that are feeding into everything. So everything's just becoming more polarized. And so how do we feel like, how do we deal with that? Well, it's like we have to stop fighting the war within ourselves and just be willing to look at things and be okay with what we're seeing. Because I know, Sharon, you do a lot of past life stuff. Like, you really focus on finding the past lives that need to be healed. Like, that's completely one amazing way to help everything that's going on, is to really like do the internal work. And I think a lot of people, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but don't necessarily want to do that.
Right.
But if you don't want to do it, that's fine, but it's going to happen anyway.
It'll happen sooner or later. Yeah.
I mean, that's not why COVID happened, but that's like, you're going to be forced to, like, so if you've been running from your relationship or you don't want to look at it, well, you just became isolated with your partner for a year. So you cannot avoid it.
Right. That's a good analogy. I like that, because I totally feel, I mean, I think everyone here has probably been through the dark night of the soul in some way. And I feel that's what our planet is going through. The dark, we're coming through that dark night of the soul, and how, and it's good. It'll be much better once we get through it on the other side. But so it's on a much larger scale that we've all experienced, and people who haven't or don't want to, like you said, Ashley, don't want to do the hard work, are going to, what I understand is going to have to reincarnate again, in the 3D. So whether it be on this planet or another, but it'll be difficult, what I understand. And I know that when I was going through that vibration, that solar flare or cosmic wave, I like that cosmic wave, because that came to mind for sure. All these thoughts and fears and everything like that were coming up with it, and and I'm like terrified again, another dark night of the soul, so because that was what was going on before, and so it was like, oh, here's another mini one coming up. Yeah.
But that's almost like, oh, sorry. I'll just really quick, and then Shauna, you go. But it's like it's like we talk a lot about brain entrainment, but these are like vibration entrainments, right? So we're not gonna. I'm just gonna say enter new earth. Like, there's this gate, and you walk through it. But we're not gonna enter new earth we have to be healed, right? So it's like those are magical moments that are happening, because it's just about releasing, because a lower vibration can't exist with these other vibrations. And so that's awesome, and that's good that you shared that. But sometimes we don't have to do anything, we just have to let it go and be like, oh. So that just feels like a total gift. Okay.
Yeah, Shauna, it is. Yeah, and that's what I was doing. But but when it's coming up, it's scary. It's really scary. It's really scary. Yeah, and I have to turn the light on. Because
I have that a lot too, Sharon. I call them upgrades. And before, when it first started, the ETs were actually coming to me, and they were sending these massive waves of energy. I think I probably told you about that. These bursts of like electricity pulsating through my body from the crown down to my feet. They do about 8 or 10 times. It didn't hurt. It was just electrical, and it was weird. And this went on for like 8 years. They would just come a couple times a month, and they would do this. And then pretty soon, though, from that, my body started changing. Like, I couldn't eat certain things. I couldn't drink alcohol anymore at all. It's like, even today, if I have a few sips of alcohol, I feel like I get alcohol poisoning. I mean, I'm so sensitive, can't take medications. So big pharma, I can't do anything like that. Not even pain meds. I mean, not even like Aleve. It makes me have vertigo so bad. Had that happen, I couldn't drive for like 6 weeks because I had vertigo just from taking an Advil. So it changed my physical body. GMO foods, I'm like the canary in the minefield now. Like, I could tell you what has GMO in it and what doesn't, just from how my body reacts. So it's an upgrade. So your body, you're ascending, but it is scary, because then later my body started doing that without them coming, like what you're talking about, shaking. And so I went to neurologists and stuff. I ended up where I couldn't walk for a while. So it was like a sickness, but a mysterious illness. They never figured out what it was, but what they define as an illness was actually ascension symptoms or ascension sickness, because what was happening to the body, my ability to channel amplified from that moment. My ability to recognize what was toxic to the body was so obvious that I avoided that stuff. So I became healthier. And so when we ascend, what we're scared of is actually a gift, you know. And
Right.
so I do the same thing, Sharon. Like, I think I still have these panic episodes, and I'm like, oh gosh. And then I go to that extreme where, okay, if I die, okay, so I'm gonna die. This is so bad. I might die. This might be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I
That comes to
surrender.
mind. And that's the ego, right? That's the ego.
Yeah. But then I
Yeah.
surrender, and I'm like, well, what would be so bad about that? I know how to fly out of body. I've been out of body hundreds of thousands of times, and it feels great. So, okay, I'm going to dive in. And then the fear starts to go away. But yeah,
That's good
'cause the
advice.
ego does try to, it tries
Yeah.
to, like, you know, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. So
Right.
yeah, I think I totally know what you're going through with that.
Yeah. Well, I have memory of being in Atlantis. And Shauna, let's get to you first. Go ahead.
Oh, just real quick. When I'm working on my one-on-ones with people, I'm finding like they've got kind of half their body, psyche, beingness in kind of the old 3D and kind of half over here in this new 5D realm. And so we're like, many of us are in the middle getting torn. So oh, I know this is love and light, and I don't really die, and I'm not going to die if my body vibrates. But then your ego, kind of that thinking part of the old way you've related to yourself, is still kind of scared, right, and stuck in that old paradigm and wondering what's normal. How do I keep you safe? You know, all those things that our ego has done to this point. So, you know, just like, I just think half your body's kind of over here, half's over here, and we're kind of just still being torn. Many of us are not completely over here yet at the higher vibration, at that 5D every day and every moment. So there's just this this fighting going on within ourselves, and that fear pops up when something new happens and we make another leap in evolution and in our knowing, our awakening. It scares us, but then we get over there, you know. So anyway, I think
Right.
just being really gentle with yourself and knowing that you're skirting two worlds right now, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I understand that 4D, because we can't really jump from 3D to 5D. That's a big leap, but 4D is where we work out our stuff. And that's the bridge in between, is what I understand. Does that make sense, ladies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We are being asked to do this now. We have to do it now. You can't bring this baggage with you to the 5D. Just can't. So now it's now or never, guys, right? So everything's
Right.
so frenetic. And you know,
Right.
people had 20 years of psychotherapy, and they thought they nailed something, and then they're like, nope, this is still here and still a problem. So now, you know, you got to work through it.
Yeah. Yeah. I recall during my quickening that I was still living this, enacting this lifetime in Atlantis, where I knew my thoughts were being read. And I was terrified that any thought that came to my mind was going to be held against me, or, you know, the beings that were reading our minds, which, you know, they're doing now too, right? That's happening now. It's all come kind of full circle, hasn't it? With AI, you know, I couldn't, if I thought a certain thought, then if it was negative, or that they were trying to you know, come and get me or whatever, that paranoid thing, you know, came into, I was terrified of my own thoughts. So that was something that I had to clear and heal, because that was huge for me, is to be able to have that peace of mind. And I don't know if anyone here has experienced anything like that, where you just pray for peace of mind.
Yeah, I would like to jump in with this part, because not only have I experienced everything that you guys are talking about with the energy upgrades and everything, but the project that I've been working on is basically the part of my disassociation with the physical part of yoga, was that it was, not only was it keeping me in the parameters of my body structure because of how it's organized by lines and alignment, that I knew when a person is in alignment, energy can flow. But once you get to a point where you keep repeating that pattern, it doesn't flow anymore. And then there's trauma, the energy of trauma that sits within all of that too. So I hit a point where trauma was trying to be released, but I kept putting myself back in these shapes with a lot of aggression. That's me, not any teacher I've ever had, that kept me from evolving the energy, letting the energy flow. So what I want to integrate into what's being talked about is movement. being in our bodies. And because this project I've been working on, and I mentioned it last time, and I think y'all kind of know about it, is this morphing. So we're being asked to grow, we're being asked to evolve, we're being asked to make all these changes. And there is, we have signals in our body all the time. I might have, 1:30 in the morning energy upgrade, but in order for me to almost be able to sustain what happened, I have to continue doing the movement that I do that's going to help me believe in it, and it's going to help me embody it, and it's going to help my mind. So the evolution of morphing goes into evolution of morphing the mind's eye, so that our mind, when it does get triggered like that, we can use the energy of this ascension to keep shifting and changing the mind as well. And they've actually, and I haven't told anybody this yet, but they've actually told me that there is an impact on the neurology of our brain, because when you can allow for these energy shifts to elevate, especially when the mind comes in, wherever it's coming from, whether it's you or someone else, to elevate the energy through the brain, through the cords that are connected, so that we can hold it more easily. And I still experience these. I go out in the world, and I have discomfort with feeling safe, and so I have to readjust and sort of accommodate with this energy. So the energy body is it's just as important as our mind, because it's all combined and working together. I guess that's all I have to say. just to put that in, because a lot of times there's like, we'll meditate or eat right, but what if we play with the malleability of how they're all interacting all the time? And it sounds like you are, one person might have the energy, and then you're going to notice it in the way that you eat. But I don't know where I'm going with all of that, but you get it.
Yeah, I think so. I find that with Ascension Symptoms, if we could talk a little bit about that, because people who are watching, I'm sure, are having a lot of symptoms, Ascension Symptoms. I find that part of the symptoms are being drawn to less dense food, obviously, right? Less heavy foods, and also eating less, feeling the need to eat less, maybe feeling the need to sleep less, because you're vibrating at at a higher rate. And so maybe having a lot more energy, and also I think another symptom is anxiety, if you don't understand what's going on, right? Yeah. So can we speak to that, Ascension Symptoms, and maybe how we can work through those?
I'd like to continue actually with that, because it's all related to our ability to let the true nature of what's inside of us to expand and come out into the dense body that we have, and to be able to recognize the energies that are around us. I have a lot of achy muscles, and I was going to say bones, but I don't think I really have achy bones, and some people might. But one of the things that I've noticed when I really let go of the structural form of the yoga poses was that my body started to make adjustments to itself. So we do have like a natural blueprint that each of us own. Not everybody's going to have the same structure. There's a basic general structure, but not everybody's bodies are the exact same. So as a yoga teacher, if I was constantly telling 10 people to do the same thing and readjust their shoulders in the exact same way, that might actually be impairing their growth in some way. So to remember, the breath. And again, I'm going to suggest movement again, even if it's walking, even if it's, laying on the floor on a chair and just allowing yourself to open to the natural movement that your body is in need of at that time. Because the more that we get the fluids going in our bones and our muscles and in our breath, the more the body is going to, you know, make those shifts and adjustments. You know, and I can't necessarily say that the pain that I'm feeling is going to be completely gone because I'm also aging. But I can say that the way that I walk on my feet is different. The way that my leg structure is different. And the way that I hold my shoulders and my head is becoming more different because, you know, I have patterns where I hide my heart and I beat myself up over here. And then I'm over here, you know, it's like all these muscular reactions to the thoughts that I've had in the old lives that I've lived, you know. So I'm just going to, again, just reemphasize, you know, doing movement that makes you feel free in some way or another.
Yeah, I've been studying neuro-linguistic programming, which is really powerful for changing habits or dealing with energy like that. I love what you said, Lisa, about yoga and just really being in touch with the body like that. I see that you're someone that's really aware, you know, that body awareness is really important. And then being able to move energy. For me, what was healing was swimming a lot, just getting in the water, in touch with the water, and doing lap after lap, even when I couldn't walk. Because I guess my symptoms were pretty severe since it brought me to that level. But swimming really healed me better than anything else. So I think movement is exactly what you're saying, Lisa. Walking outside, being in nature, being in the water, and you know, all of those things I think is going to help us through the Ascension symptoms.
Anyone else?
I thought Shauna had something to say.
Yeah.
Didn't? You don't. You go and then I'll go because I swear you were gonna say something.
I felt that too. Yeah.
So my team, Galactic Federation of Light, has said that being in water right now is really important for helping us, and that we've got some kind of alignment with Neptune going on. I don't know much about astrology and all this, but that it has kind of supercharged our water for the next three months or so, and that like being in water is really important for starseeds who are going through Ascension symptoms or anybody who is experiencing this. So yeah, lots of water, exercise every day, don't eat meat, you know, all that good stuff. But I honestly, besides the physicality part of it, I'm seeing really big changes in people's relationships and how they're relating to their significant others and their partners, and long-term stuff really, really shifting around right now with people, big changes. And so I would say even that kind of thing is an Ascension symptom. I don't know if we lost Sharon again.
I don't know. So I found, like, I didn't find out, but this goes off of what Lisa was saying about the brain and Kendra a little bit, but a little bit differently. But there's, and we all know about like the pineal gland, like being crystalline in nature, but that scientists have discovered the presence of tiny crystallized fragments of magnetite that are in our brain. So again, it's just like we have so much crystallinity that's running through us. And so I know this is not the purpose of Ascension symptoms, but for me, and what the beings have been saying is that that there's an evolution in crystalline consciousness that is now available to support the new human, as the human that is being experienced today is really connecting with their crystalline bodies, but while in these physical structures. So I feel like how people are intuitively drawing in like a intuitively like magnetizing the way that they're healing. So some of you might be connecting more with your body in movement. Some of you might be asked to be taking care of like some 3D, like literal physical things in your life to physically move some stuff out. They might just be little things like filing taxes that you didn't file correctly in 2018. Like, it seems simple, but that is an energy attachment that is connected to something in the 3D. And so those are things, because I think sometimes we get overwhelmed with all of this stuff, like all these messages. So I'm always asking, okay, so what can I say that people can like feel that they're like claiming their sovereignty? And this goes back to how our DNA, we basically have in the physical body, like as a collective, have been programmed to be enslaved. So the more that we can wake up every day and claim our sovereignty like consciously, or just to consciously make our choices and our decisions, including the way that we heal. Because for some people, eating meat might be okay. You know, you can eat high vibrational meat and know that the cow or the whatever was happy, or you might be guided not to eat anything. Some people might be wanting to sleep a lot. And just honoring these incredible communication vessels that we are inhabiting on this planet that is definitely shifting, without a doubt. And a lot of, you know, it might get a little bit more worse before it gets better. But if we can just find our presence in the present moment and sort of be in the eye of the storm, and trust ourselves and our own intuition to be guided through what's going on. And to talk about the anxiety portion, sometimes when we're shifting in our vibration, our heart beat sort of feels like it might be anxiety, but again, it's just our heart is also transitioning with the frequencies and breathing differently, and we're just connecting differently. So it might be anxiety, but it also might not be anxiety. So another tool that the beings came through and said was to simply practice not describing your experiences in terms of polarities, because we project through language on our own experiences. So if we say that that was a bad experience that we just had today, it might not be bad. So to think about using neutral language when describing things. Obviously, honor your feelings about whatever it was, but then when you move forward to describe something, just practice with language and see what you're doing. So just about bringing awareness to like these moments that can be hugely transitional and shifting in the way that we perceive, that can help our physical ascension symptoms too.
Yeah, that's great advice from everyone. Totally. Yeah, I like that. Well, of course, all of it is wonderful, but what you were saying about your language with you know, maybe scary experiences or something like that is I find super important too, because when we talk about something again that's scary, it triggers that in us again, right? Those feelings, those emotions, and this, you know, it has to do with NLP, I think, and the, you know, that programming that we do within ourselves, that we unconsciously program ourselves to think, oh, that experience was so scary, like I just did it myself. That experience was so scary. And then the more we talk about it being scary, the more we talk about it being terrifying, the more energy we put into that. So that's good advice, Ashley, about maybe bringing it a different. Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something really quickly. Sorry, because that reminded me of something.
Uh-huh.
I was just talking about this in a group the other day. We were talking about the difference between, like, there's fear, right? So you can still talk about, you can still have experienced fear in the moment, right? Or
Sure.
something. But we talked about the discernment between fear and danger, because those are completely different things. Because fear isn't real, like that's a thing that we've
Right.
made, but danger in the moment is real, right? And we have, our body tells us like there is a velociraptor or whatever that that is overhead that is going to eat us. That is a moment of danger. But then fear merges into this thing that then we bring with us. But once the moment of danger is over, the moment of danger is over. But and I just, it seemed so simple, and I was like, that's helpful. Sorry, Mahana is snoring. She is participating in this conversation.
She's in no fear. Yeah.
I did something
No,
so
that makes sense. And that's our ego. That's our survival instincts, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it's
But
all about.
I wanted to add too that something that I'm considering for myself, and that, you know, who will I be without it? Who will I be without my story? Who will I be without the past? Who will I be without all the things and the scary things? There's the movie Heal. It's the documentary about all these different modalities of healing, and there's a man who has his hands on somebody and they begin to tremble, and they have some kind of an illness, and that was one of the things that they said. You know, they, part of the reason they started crying is because they don't know what it feels like to be somebody who's not ill. So what does it feel like to be in the future where we have ascended, you know, and that's what I'm
Right.
kind of traveling in and out of sometimes, is like I move into the space and then I look around and I'm like, wait a minute, still here. But getting used to the idea of like using the language and recognizing that we want to eat well and how we're interacting with other people. I love it. It's but it's like an unusual thing for me anyway to come to terms with that and accept that it's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah. Isn't ascension more of a state of mind rather than a place? It's a frequency, right? And so we could be in a cave and still be in 5D rather than a mansion. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been told too. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, me. Okay. Interrupt. Sorry.
You're not interrupting.
Okay. Yeah, that it's an individual state of consciousness. It's so because a lot of people ask when I channel Melody, a lot of questions that people are concerned about is family members that aren't fully awake and leaving them behind. You know, that person feels that they're going to ascend because they're awake to what's going on, but their mom and dad are going to be left behind, and what happens to them. And so Melody always comes through and says that this is an individual state of consciousness. Nobody's being left behind. There are multiple versions of us in various time is not linear. So there's multiple versions of us. And really what ascension is, it's just connecting to our higher self. It's just taking that next step of making that connection, that unified channel with a higher version of yourself in that other timeline. So we're not really abandoning or leaving behind anything. That's other version of us still exists, and the people that you think might be left behind, they have higher versions of themselves that exist. So when we get rid of or leave or well, you know, toxic relationships, when we step away from those, when the codependency goes away and we start to step into our self-empowerment, we're aligning with the higher version of ourselves, and that relationship to that other person is going to be in a different timeline with us. So we're not even going to see the same version of, like, let's say we were in a bad relationship that was codependent and abusive or whatever. We make the choice to empower ourselves, step out of that. We're going to be in alignment with another version of that person because we step into a parallel reality where we're in a higher vibrational state. So it's a super like individualized experience, but it's totally in our consciousness. It's not a place. It is, I totally understand it as a state of consciousness, exactly what you said.
If it sounded like I thought it was a place, maybe I was unaware of that. I just know that my experience of the vibrational impulses that I get, where I feel really clear and open and connected, it's because of the lack of clarity and the place where I'm not as open. There's a drastic difference and it seems like a different place that I'm in. Does that make sense?
Right.
And that as I step into the next few years, as the years come, who will I be and where will I be in those times?
Right. I know that my state of consciousness determines how everything, and it's like this with everyone, determines how my projections look, right? So the higher frequency I am, and the happier I am, or the more I am at ease with everything around me, even the chaos and everything like that, the brighter my world looks, the brighter, the nicer people are, the things start, things flow better. And it's just a different mind, consciousness, a state of mind, than if I'm feeling really down. You might find, everyone might agree here, if something goes wrong and really gets you upset, then it seems like it starts a chain of things going wrong. And then you fall down that spiral, right, of lowering our frequency, our vibration, and which is fine, but as long as we are aware of it, and then we pick ourselves back up out of it. but everything is just, to me, when I'm in that, I love what you said, Lisa, when I'm in that state of consciousness, everything, my projections are a reflection, or a showing me what where my consciousness is. And my guide Yeshua used to teach me, when I was in class with him for a long time, he would say, okay, what frequency are you at now? What frequency, what are your their thoughts, what frequency are you at? Are you at 4.3, 4.4, 3.8, 4.9, whatever? And so it helped me gauge where my thoughts were bringing me into what frequency.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think in order to understand, we kind of have to label it, or have a place for it, like, so just so that we can wrap our heads around it and try to gauge it. Otherwise you can't, because it's energy. So how do you gauge energy? Well, you got to kind of make it physical. So I think Lisa, exactly what you're saying, and you're feeling it in your body, is a reference point, kind of like naming countries or parts of our body. I mean, we have to have reference to be able to process that, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, thanks, Kendra. I think a lot of people think we have to, and I didn't mean you, Lisa, but people who are watching might have this idea of, what does ascension mean? Where am I going to be? Am I going to be in this, this place of pure light, and and everything, there's mansions all around me, and everything's just hunky-dory, and and all that, which it's a lot better because of what we are, how we are vibrating. So things get better in our life, and things get better around us. So it's not an actual, that's why I guess I want to make that
That's a
point. It's
good
not an
point.
actual place.
Yes.
It's a
No,
state
I'm
of
glad you brought
consciousness.
that up. Yeah, because I think I even had to go through that myself.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Yeah, just discerning.
I think it would be, it's interesting because the Galactic Federation of Light has given me some pretty specific information about this move to 5D and what's going to happen with Mother Earth. And so, too late for this session, but maybe next session we can get more into that, Sharon, in terms of what they've told me.
Sure.
And we can kind of, I'd love to discuss that with all of you and all your knowledge, and kind of have fun with that.
That would be awesome. Yeah, because we're running on almost an hour and a half now. So, Ashley, did you have anything you wanted to add to that last little bit?
No, other than I believe that from the perspective of being human, and from all the other beings, that everyone are in a state of ascension. It just keeps on expanding and expanding and expanding, and it's infinite. And at some point you get to a point like you, but it wouldn't be you, because you'd be like in a collective sort of consciousness level. There would potentially be an opportunity again to choose to merge in with source, right? And I believe that I don't necessarily want to get into this. I believe that there's multiple sources, and I believe in the multiverse, and et cetera, et cetera. So again, it just so as far as but the question I always ask myself whenever I'm getting information is, how would this apply to somebody who's currently experiencing physical incarceration? Right? Because we can sit here out here, and I also think about this not necessarily in terms of race, but kind of in terms of race. Is I would say that everyone in this group can pass as white, right? Like, so there's there's levels of privilege that we have. So how do these apply to everyone? And it really does come back to like density and perception. And I do believe that people that are embodied as indigenous and Black have a you are really having a whole ancestral lineage, right, of healing and of energy that is in your that needs healing, right? And it's not just, it's up to everyone to kind of look at that. But a lot of that comes from, again, internal work and empathy and being able to see the oneness reflected back among all of us, and that we're all here just kind of doing the best that we can. But ascension is a process, and a lot of it is about a vibration and a perspective that makes the challenges flow. So you still go through the challenges, but you're doing it in a less, with less density, more willingness to trust yourself, the divine sorcerer that we all are, because we're connected to source and to these infinite heart fields, that the challenges become smoother. Doesn't mean the challenges go away and then a mansion emerges in your backyard or whatever it is that you desire. Right. But all of a sudden, like, resources and opportunities and things can pop up for us, and so much of that is embedded within belief systems. And so when we have these family histories of not being good enough, whatever form that takes, whether it's skin color or not, those stories need healing, and they need to come up for healing. And that's what we're watching, I think, on the world stage. Is there's a collective psychological split happening, and we're here to support that to the best of our ability, moment to moment.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. We're healing a lot of this, all of the ancestral lines, as we, and all of us here are Anglo, and but that doesn't mean we haven't had other lifetimes as indigenous peoples, or have, I have black skin or any other color skin, because I have many memories of being, a person of color. But that's the whole idea, is to come here to experience everything, right? Everything. And that's why source is just makes it so bountiful for us. We can't experience everything we want. Yeah. Okay. All right. And some things that maybe we think, why did I choose this? What was I thinking? Those are the ones I think we learn the most from. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, ladies. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we'll definitely do another one if you're up for it.
For sure. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for doing this.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you out there for watching. We hope you enjoyed the conversation, and please subscribe. Well, I'm supposed to say this. Please subscribe, and and hit that bell, like they say. Yeah. But and leave a comment if you enjoyed it, or if you have any questions or anything like that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.